So in Season 12 of Diablo 4, one of the most important things you're going to want to be farming for and getting as many of as you can are the Bloodied activity keys that absolutely juice up the content you'll be running. And even more specifically, if you're looking to get the most or best amount of loot you possibly can, you're looking for the Bloodied layer boss keys. So in this video, I want to go over what is seeming to be the best way to farm these. Now, the Bloodied activity keys at a baseline will essentially make the content you're doing one difficulty higher in the torment system, even though that can actually be a bit misleading because it's one torment higher in terms of pure difficulty, but it's also usually a bit more difficult, especially since you have a super tanky butcher constantly respawning to chase you around. And the butcher in the layer bosses and in the nightmare sigils can be decent because every time you kill him, he will drop some of his meat currency, but that goes down pretty quickly. So killing him like 5 times, I think he'll stop dropping it. But then in Infernal Hordes, killing the butcher that constantly spawns gives you a ridiculous amount of experience. So the butcher spawning in any of these Bloodied activity keys has some use to it. And that's really the other main thing about the keys. They're more difficult and they constantly have the butcher chasing you around, but for rewards, they're pretty massive. And at a baseline, all the Bloodied activity keys give you a lot more Bloodied items, which can obviously be really important and could give you a lot of very good loot when you start spamming out the layer bosses or when you start doing Infernal Hordes that have a lot of loot at the end. So the layer boss activity keys are legitimately one of the most important things you can be farming this season because you want to get that full set of ancestral Bloodied items with good rolls, and that's actually quite hard to do, but this is the best place and best content to be doing it in. And one last thing before we get into the farm, there's actually 4 season blessings you're going to want to be using. In fact, the first 4 that you're going to want to be using when doing this farm and using your activity keys. First off, Earn a Butchery increases the rate of seasonal reputation earned from all rewards. Once you've completed the reputation track, the infinite reputation boxes you give are absolutely juiced. They give guaranteed ancestral Bloodied items and they give you a ton of additional activity keys. So that's one of the really important ones. And most of your reputation will just be coming from getting massive kill streaks, which is a thing we're going to be doing in this farm. You have Urn of Slaughter, which boosts the chances of getting additional slaughterhouse keys. Now, you don't have to use these. The reason I say boost this one up as well is that you get salvage keys for more of the meat currency to gamble more items. That's all I've been doing. Slaughterhouses aren't super useful to run once you get more into the end game. Then you have Urn of Bloodied keys, boosts the chance of finding additional Bloodied activity keys. This will be the main one because that's what we're mainly searching for. And then Urn of Meat boosts the amount of fresh meat dropped from all sources. Again, you can use that to just go gamble to get guaranteed Bloodied items that can also give you any rarity of items that are also quite good. Now, the main thing we're going to be doing for this farm is Helltides because we are very specifically wanting to kill lots of random enemies while at high kill streaks. And Helltides are by far the best spot to do this in the game. Now, the first thing, you're going to want to change up your build if you don't have a fast build and or if you don't have a build that could clear like entire screens or hit stuff off screen. More specifically, I've been using a Cataclysm Druid, which I do have a video on. Check one of my previous videos. I have an early endgame build for that, but Cataclysm on a Druid can hit enemies off screen. So even if my build isn't super fast moving, I could still just be hitting enemies off screen pretty regularly. So most optimally, you want a mix of that. Clear everything out screen very easily, clear things off screen, and have high movement speed with high mobility. Also, if you could get the rune sets of travel a certain amount of distance and then get the sorcerer's teleport, use that rune set. It's incredibly strong. You can even use other rune sets to increase your movement speed and things like that. Because even if you're in Torment 4, a lot of builds in the game, even not super strong ones, can clear Torment 4 pretty easily in general, and you can just lower the difficulty if your build isn't that strong yet. Now, on top of changing your build, another very important aspect of this farm is to get Subo the Mercenary as your actual mercenary, not your reinforcement, because Subo's base ability or passive allows him to track all enemies on your map. So on your map, you'll just be able to see where all of the enemies are. This is very, very good and important for keeping up your kill streaks in Helltides if you're not, say, doing the Blood Maiden or something where enemies are just spawning around you. Because if you want to keep up your kill streak, you want to know exactly where you need to go to find the next group of enemies. This is actually one of the most important parts of doing this farm, and it'll keep your kill streak alive for significantly longer than you normally would be able to. And then outside of changing those things, you really just want to do whatever you can in Helltides to get high high kill streaks. And the main reason for that is because as you get higher and higher kill streaks, you'll notice enemies will start dropping a lot of activity keys. Now, I actually couldn't find anywhere that specifically details this information on what's happening behind the scenes, but it is very clear as you get into higher kill streaks, activity keys, specifically bloodied activity keys, just drop a lot more. Once you start getting up into those kill streaks, once you start getting to like bloodbath, you'll see that you'll just start to get activity key after activity key. So just being able to clear a high density area very consistently is going to be very good for getting all activity keys. Now there's 4 different things that are incredibly strong for doing this. First off is the Blood Maiden. If you go into an area and you see another group there where everybody's putting in 1 heart to summon the Blood Maiden over and over and over again, you are in luck because you can very easily keep up your kill streaks while doing that. Usually you'll just have to find like 1 enemy somewhere close while the Blood Maiden is spawning and her waves start to spawn to keep your kill streak up. And that will probably be the best version of this farm. That's not always possible though. Sometimes you go there, there's nobody there. Or if you could just get a group of like 3 people, that will probably be the most optimal, but that's probably the best way to do this farm. And second, you have the new Butcher Shrines. Now, there's 2 thoughts with this Butcher Shrine. First off is going over there when someone else is the Butcher, because it'll constantly spawn waves of enemies. And if you are not in the Butcher and someone else is, and you start killing those enemies, they will drop normal loots for you, even though they're only dropping meat for the person that is the Butcher. Or if you're trying to keep up your kill streak and you're running through, you could actually start the Butcher Shrine and build up a very good kill streak and then just continue defeating other enemies when you come out of Butcher. So it's a good way to start up your kill streak or keep it going. And then the final 2 things are the different shrine type things you can find all over Helltides. Both of them are the things you click on. They create a circle around you and constantly spawn enemies if you stay within the circle. One of them just constantly sucks out life from you that does more and more damage over time. The other one does the spinning fire and then does the additional procs of fire and then adds in falling fire boulders on top of you. So each of those things, when you stay in the circle, you'll have, I think, a couple minutes of constantly spawning enemies. If you find any of those are just guaranteed kill streak enablers that you could just sit there and constantly kill enemies. If you're very fast at killing them, you can get close to like a full bloodbath just from one of those. So those are also incredibly strong, especially if you're solo or if you're running by trying to keep up your kill streak. You find any of those, always click those. Those are definitely things you want to focus on when you're running around not doing the 2 other main activities for this. And that's really the main things you're going to be doing for this farm. It kind of boils down to just kill as many enemies in Helltide as you possibly can and keep up the highest kill streaks you possibly can. But using the content we just went over, using all those different aspects, can very heavily influence how easy it is to keep up these kill streaks. And keeping up these kill streaks is how you get the bloodied activity sigils. And one final tip is that these bloodied activity keys do make content quite difficult. If you can't do Torment 4 with bloodied sigils, just drop down your Torment until you can, because even using the bloodied layer boss keys on like Torment 1 is absurdly good. The amount of meat currency you get, items you get, bloodied items you get is kind of absurd when using those keys. So even in Torment 1, those keys are very much worth going and using until you can get a strong enough build to do the higher difficulties. Usually you would never really want to stay in Torment 1 and farm a lot of stuff, but the bloodied activity keys definitely throw a wrench in that, and it is still worth using them on Torment 1. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.